I thanked Grandpa for a $100 check. He froze and said, "I sent you $100,000. Then Mom tried to leave the room. I was 17 when it happened. My name is Zach, and by then I had already learned the golden rule in our family. Keep your head down and do not rock the boat, especially when it came to my mother. She was the queen of our little suburban kingdom, polished smiles at church, passive-aggressive texts in the family group chat, and a talent for rewriting history so smoothly that you almost believed her. Almost. My dad was quiet and worn down, and most of the time he stayed out of it. My younger sister Maddie was my mother's golden child. Dance recitals, honor roll, homecoming court, student council, the whole perfect little package. Me, I fixed up my grandpa's old pickup truck and worked a part-time job bagging groceries. Apparently, that was all the proof my mother needed that I was going nowhere fast. My grandpa, though, always saw me differently. I used to help him with odd jobs around his property on the weekends. We fixed fences, patched the barn roof, cleaned gutters, hauled scrap metal, raked leaves, and sometimes we just sat on the porch while he told me stories about how men used to do things. He was one of those men who did not say much unless it mattered, but he always made sure I left with a $50 bill in my pocket and a jug of sweet tea to take home. He never came out and said he was proud of me, but he did not have to. I felt it. I saw it in the way he watched me measure twice before cutting, in the way he nodded when I figured something out on my own, in the way he trusted me with tools he would not let anyone else touch. Every year on my birthday, he wrote me a card by hand. Not one of those glittery cards from the drugstore. Real paper, folded in half, his shaky handwriting filling the inside with some kind of life advice. Do not borrow what you cannot pay back. Listen more than you speak. Stand up when someone shakes your hand. Keep your tools clean. Keep your word cleaner. And every time there would be a check inside, nothing insane, usually $50, sometimes $100, just enough to fill my gas tank and buy myself a greasy burger without feeling guilty. I always thanked him. I never expected more. That year, my 17th birthday landed on a Sunday. My mother insisted on a family brunch at our house. I use the word brunch loosely because what she really meant was that she and Maddie would post for Instagram while I played host reheating frozen waffles, setting the table, wiping counters, and making sure there was enough orange juice. Grandpa was the last to arrive. I heard his old Buick crunching up the driveway and practically ran outside, if only to get a break from Maddie shrieking about a smudged eyebrow pencil. Grandpa looked tired. His gray cardigan hung looser than usual, and his face looked more sunken, but his eyes lit up when he saw me. We hugged quickly and firmly the way we always did, and he handed me an envelope with my name written across the front in his usual blocky print. I tucked it into my pocket and promised I would read it later. He patted my shoulder and nodded like he always did. Brunch was the usual performance. Mom floated around refilling coffee cups and complimenting Maddie's natural glow, ignoring the fact that Maddie was wearing more makeup than a YouTube beauty guru. Dad said maybe 5 words the entire time. Maddie kept taking selfies at the table. Grandpa ate quietly, watching more than he spoke. When I finally opened the card at the table, I read the message first and smiled at the familiar bit of Grandpa wisdom. Work hard even when no one is watching. Then I unfolded the check. It was for $100. I blinked surprised. That was more than usual, but not wildly out of character. I smiled at him across the table and lifted the check a little. "Thanks, Grandpa," I said. "This will help a lot. You didn't have to." He frowned, confused. "What check?" I held it up. "The birthday one. $100. That's really generous." For a moment, the whole room went silent. Maddie paused mid-selfie. Dad shifted in his chair. My mother's fork clinked loudly against her plate as she set it down and stood up. "I'll get more syrup," she muttered, disappearing into the kitchen. Grandpa leaned forward, squinting at the check. "Zach," he said slowly, "I didn't write you a check this year." I laughed awkwardly because for one second I thought maybe he had just forgotten. "It's okay," I said. "I really appreciate it." "No," he said. "I wired you money to your savings account a week ago." I froze. "How much?" Grandpa looked me straight in the eye. $100,000. Have you ever felt the air get sucked out of a room? That was what happened. Everything stopped. The clink of silverware, the buzzing of Maddie's phone, the forced little sounds my mother always made when she wanted everyone to think everything was normal. Everything froze except my brain, which went into overdrive, trying to make sense of what I had just heard. $100,000. That could not be right. He had to be joking. But Grandpa was not a joking kind of man, not about money, and not about promises. I looked toward the kitchen doorway. My mother was standing there, pale and still gripping the syrup bottle like it was a grenade. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice cracking slightly. "My savings account." Grandpa ignored my mother's laser glare. "I called the bank," he said. "Your dad gave me the routing information years ago, said you were saving up for school, maybe a truck. I figured you would need a real boost soon, so I wired it last Monday." I felt sick. I had not seen a single notification. No deposit, no alert, no change. My banking app showed the same sad 3-digit balance it always did. I stared at Grandpa, then turned to my mother. She blinked, tight-lipped. "That's not," she started. "I mean, we should talk about this later." "What later?" I said, louder than I meant to. She snapped her eyes toward me. Zachary, not at the table. "No," Grandpa said. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like a blade. "I want to know what happened to the money." I stood up. My legs were trembling. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app again, double-checking every tab, every account, even the one I had not touched since I was 13. Nothing. No deposit, no trace, no pending transfer, no hidden account. Nothing. My mouth went dry. "Mom?" I asked more quietly this time. Did you move it?" She hesitated for just 1 second, but it was long enough. Then she softened her face into that carefully curated expression she always used when she was trying to seem reasonable. "Zach, honey, you're still a minor. We're just holding on to it for you. It's complicated." "You took it." My voice cracked again, but this time it was not confusion. It was disbelief. "You actually took my money." "I didn't take it," she snapped. "I managed it. There is a difference." "What does that even mean?" "It means," she said, crossing her arms, "that I made a judgment call, one that protects your future. Your grandfather does not always think these things through, and I was not going to let that kind of money go straight to a teenage boy with no plan." "Are you serious right now?" I stared at her, stunned. "That was mine. It is our family's," she said flatly. "And I am not going to sit here and be attacked for making a responsible decision." Grandpa pushed his chair back slowly. He looked even more tired now. Not just physically tired, but soul-deep tired, like something inside him had cracked. "I gave that to Zach," he said. "Not you, not your husband. Him." She did not respond. She just stood there, with her arms crossed and her mouth pressed into a line, refusing to look at either of us. Grandpa shook his head and turned to me. "I'll get it sorted," he said quietly. "I promise you that." But I already knew. I could see it in my mother's face. She had moved it, used it, maybe even spent it, and I had no idea where to begin finding it again. That was the moment the illusion cracked. The perfect family. The careful brunches. The polite smiles. The pictures where everyone looked happy because my mother said we had to. I realized then how deep her control ran, and how many lies had been dressed up as concern. And I knew right then and there that this was not over. Not even close. I did not say anything else. I just sat back down, my heart pounding and my stomach churning, staring at the $100 check that she had probably written in Grandpa's name without him knowing. A distraction, a cover, a fake little birthday gift to hide the real one she had stolen. That night, while everyone else pretended nothing had happened, I lay in bed with my laptop open, logging into every bank account, email account, and financial account I could remember ever having. And what I found in the following days was when everything really started unraveling. I barely slept that night. My brain kept circling around one question. If Grandpa wired $100,000 and it never showed up, where the hell did it go? I kept going over it, trying to convince myself there had to be a mix-up. Maybe the bank delayed it. Maybe Grandpa typed in the wrong account number. Maybe there was some kind of verification hold because I was 17. That made sense, right? Maybe there was a boring explanation, some adult banking thing I did not understand. But no matter how many times I refreshed my app, no miracle deposit appeared. My balance was still $348.19. Most of it came from last week's grocery shift, plus a few leftover birthday bills from relatives. The next morning, I waited for my mother to bring it up. She did not. She hummed while folding towels in the laundry room and went on about Maddie's upcoming dance showcase like nothing had happened. I stood in the doorway and just watched her, calm, smiling, so composed, like she had not just casually stolen 100 grand from her own son. "Can we talk?" I finally asked. She did not look up. "We already talked yesterday." "No, we didn't," I said. "You talked. I found out something huge and you deflected." She folded a towel in half, then folded it again, setting it neatly on the pile. "Zachary, this is not some dramatic betrayal. Do not twist it into something it is not." I swallowed hard. "Did you spend it?" That got her attention. Her eyes flicked up, just briefly. "Excuse me?" "The money Grandpa sent. Did you spend it?" There was a pause. Then she scoffed. "Do you even hear yourself? You are acting like this is some criminal investigation. You are still a child. Your father and I made a responsible financial decision to safeguard a ridiculous amount of money that should not have been thrown at you like a game show prize. So you did take it." She sighed and finally stopped folding. "It is not in your account number. And where is it?" "We moved it into a secure family investment. It is doing more good than it would sitting in a teenager's savings account collecting pennies in interest." "What investment?" I asked, already dreading the answer. "That is not your concern." "It is if it is my money," her voice sharpened. "That money was gifted, and in this house, we manage gifts like that together. Your grandfather should have consulted us." "Why would he need to consult you?" I shot back. "It was for me. He wired it to me." She set the last towel down. Her hands were trembling just slightly. "You are blowing this way out of proportion. No one stole from you. You live here rent-free. We feed you, clothe you, drive you to work when your truck will not start. That money is part of the family's future." And there it was. The family's future. Her favorite phrase. Translation, Maddie. I walked out before I said something I could never take back. But something in me shifted. That morning was the start of a slow burn. I did not scream. I did not throw things. I did not beg. I just stopped trusting her. I stopped assuming she had anyone's best interest at heart except her own. A few days later, curiosity got the better of me. I would not call it snooping exactly, at least not at first. After dinner, I noticed my mother's purse sitting on the sideboard while she helped Maddie stretch for ballet class in the living room. I glanced around, my heart pounding, and opened it just long enough to see the front of her checkbook. The most recent carbon copy said, "Down payment, $87,000. My hands went cold. I snapped a picture of it and walked away like nothing had happened. 2 weeks later, I found out what it was for. I came home from school and saw a big "sold" sign staked into the front yard of the house next door. Our neighbors had moved out months earlier, and the house had been on the market forever. I did not think much of it until my mother greeted me with her usual bright smile. Guess what she said? I stared at her. "What?" "We're buying it." I blinked. "What?" She laughed like this was the most exciting thing in the world. "Next door. Isn't that amazing? We're going to turn it into a rental property or maybe an Airbnb. We haven't decided yet, but the market is picking back up and it was such a good deal. We could not pass it up." I stared at her. "You used my money to buy a house." "Do not be dramatic," she said. "It's an investment. Someday, when you're older and understand how finances work, you will see how brilliant this is." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. "You bought a house without telling me, with money that was meant for me." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, Zach. You are 17. What were you going to do with it? Buy video games? Waste it on a truck with rims? That house will triple in value by the time you are 30. That is not the point. Then what is? I clenched my fists. You did not even ask. You did not tell me. You just decided it was yours. She went quiet for a moment. Her smile faltered. Then she leaned in and lowered her voice. You live under this roof. You do not pay a dime in bills. Your grades are average. You are not getting scholarship offers. Maddie, on the other hand, is working her tail off every day in honors classes, dance, and student council. She has earned our support. I blinked. What does Maddie have to do with any of this? She is going places. She has potential, and she will need help soon. College applications, private coaching, maybe even a car. We need to think about what is best for everyone. I did not respond. I just turned and walked away again. Because deep down, I knew that if I stayed in that room, I would say something that would fracture everything. That night, I did something I had never done before. I called Grandpa. He picked up on the second ring. Zach. Yeah, I said, my voice tight. Can we talk? We met at a diner on the edge of town, one of those places with cracked leather booths, coffee that tasted burnt no matter what time of day it was, and a jukebox that never worked. I told him everything. I showed him the screenshots from my bank app, the photo of the checkbook carbon copy, and the listing for the house next door. He did not say much. He just listened. At one point, he closed his eyes and took a long breath through his nose, like he was trying not to explode. I should have known, he muttered. I should have wired it straight to you. You tried, I said quietly. She got there first. He rubbed his jaw. That money was from the land sale. I had been holding it for years for you. I did not want you to start adulthood broke like I did. I thought maybe it could pay for college or tools or seed money if you wanted to start something. I just wanted to give you a head start. I swallowed hard. You did not do anything wrong. No, he said, but your mother did. He paused, then looked me square in the eye. You want it back? I nodded once. Yeah, I do. He tapped the side of his coffee mug. Then we are going to have to be careful. Smart. She is slippery when she wants to be. I could have cried right there in that booth, but I did not. I just nodded again, harder this time. It was late when I got home. My mother was sitting in the living room with her laptop and a glass of wine, scrolling through real estate photos like nothing had happened. Maddie was in the kitchen, watching TikToks with her earbuds in, humming along to something that sounded like a chipmunk with auto-tune. I went straight to my room, locked the door, and opened my laptop. That was when I started planning. I dug into county property records and pulled up the purchase details for the house next door. There it was, listed under an LLC. It was the same LLC my dad used for side projects that never seemed to turn a profit. It was a shell, basically, a name. No real company, no website, no employees. Just something my mother had registered years earlier for tax write-offs. But the records were not as simple as she made them sound. The LLC had been used before. The mailing addresses were inconsistent. The ownership details were buried behind layers of paperwork. And from what I could tell, my mother had much more control over it than she had admitted. That was interesting. I started keeping a notebook. I tracked dates, statements, and little things she said. I paid attention in a way I never had before. How she moved money, how she justified things, how easily she bent reality to fit her story. I did not know yet what I would do with it all, but I knew one thing for sure. I was not letting it go. Then, just when I thought things could not get worse, they told me the real reason they had bought the house. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was outside working on my truck, my hands slick with oil, when Maddie bounced over with her phone in her hand and a huge grin on her face. Guess what she said? I looked up from the oil pan. What? They're giving me the house. I blinked. What? She laughed like I was slow. Not now, duh, but eventually, after it is fixed up. Mom said it will be my place when I go to college nearby, so I can focus on school without dorm distractions. Isn't that amazing? I stared at her. You are getting the house? Yeah, she said like it was obvious. They said it just made sense. I mean, you are probably going to move out soon anyway, right? But I will be here, and it is such a cute house. I already picked my room. She skipped away before I could respond, twirling her phone in the air. I stood there with oil dripping from my hands and my heart thudding in my ears. They had not just taken the money, They had given it to her. That was the moment everything snapped into focus. This was not just unfair, it was war. And I was done playing nice. I did not say anything that night, not when Maddie bragged over dinner about how they might knock down the back wall to expand her room. Not when Mom poured herself another glass of wine and said that everyone makes sacrifices for family. Not even when Dad, who had not looked me in the eye since the brunch, mumbled something about how opportunities come when you least expect them. I just chewed my food and stared at my plate. I do not remember what we ate. I only remember tasting nothing. That night in bed, I stared at the ceiling for hours. My chest felt hollow and tight at the same time, like I had been robbed of more than money. I kept replaying everything: the brunch, the fake check, the checkbook, the house, the smirk on Maddie's face, the $100,000 I had never even seen. Not one penny spent by me. Not $1 put toward my future. Just gone. Vanished into drywall and future hardwood floors. And worst of all, no one apologized. No one explained. No one even acknowledged it like it mattered. It was just understood. This was how things worked in our house. You obeyed. You did not question. And if you were the less promising kid, you learned to settle for crumbs. I hit my lowest point 2 weeks later. It was Maddie's Sweet 16. My birthday had been 2 months earlier. Just brunch and a few gift cards. No party, no decorations. My mother said it was a weird time of year and everyone was too busy. But for Maddie, they rented out the event room at a lakeside restaurant. There were lights, catering, a live DJ, and a professional photographer following her around like she was some kind of influencer. Maddie wore a glittery silver dress and acted like the entire town had been waiting for this moment. I did not want to go, but I had to. Mom said I needed to support the family. So I wore my best button-down shirt and tried to stay out of the way. The party was crowded. Kids from Maddie's school, teachers, some of Mom's friends, even our old neighbors. Everyone danced, took selfies, and hugged Maddie like she was the second coming of royalty. I sat in the corner near the dessert table, watching it all unfold, like I was invisible. Then came the slideshow. I did not even know they had made one. The lights dimmed. Maddie squealed. The screen lit up with baby photos clips from her ballet recitals, school awards, and that time she met someone semi-famous at a dance convention. Every photo was perfect and curated, all golden hour filters and soft music. Then came the voiceovers. Dad saying how proud he was, Mom choking up while talking about how Maddie was the dream they always had. Even Grandpa had a clip, though I am pretty sure they filmed it without telling him what it was for. He just said something like, "She works hard. I hope she stays humble." I was not in a single photo, not one. There were family shots, Christmases, birthdays, vacations, but I had been cropped out or skipped entirely. I saw my own elbow, once, maybe. And the worst part was that no one else noticed. When the lights came back on, everyone applauded like they had just watched a cinematic masterpiece. Maddie hugged Mom and wiped fake tears from her eyes. I got up and walked outside. I did not even realize I was shaking until I leaned against the railing and felt my knuckles clench. It was not just about the money anymore. It was like I did not exist. That night, I stood in front of the mirror and said something out loud that I had never said before. I'm getting out. I did not know how. I did not know when, but I meant it. I was not going to be a footnote in my own life. The next morning, I started climbing. Step 1 was getting control over myself. I had been coasting for years, half-assing school, wasting time online, clocking in and out of my grocery job like it was a prison sentence. I was not stupid, but I had stopped trying a long time ago. What was the point? In my house, no matter what I did, Maddie outshined it. But now, I had a reason. I started staying late at the library reading everything I could find about money, investing, business, personal finance, and even real estate law. I watched hours of free lectures online. I took notes, I made spreadsheets, I downloaded budgeting apps and started tracking every cent I spent. No more fast food, no more impulse junk. Every dollar was a soldier. I was going to build something. At work, I asked to pick up extra shifts. Then I asked the store manager if I could learn more. Unloading trucks, managing inventory, helping train new hires. I wanted responsibility. At first, he seemed surprised. Then he started trusting me. Within a month, I was basically assistant managing the back room. A few weeks after that, I got a raise. It was not much, but it was enough to notice. At school, I asked one of my teachers if I could make up missed assignments. He said no one had ever asked him that in October before, but he agreed. I worked through every late paper, every half-finished lab, every missed quiz. I did not tell anyone why, but my GPA started crawling up. Quietly at home, I said as little as possible. Mom noticed the change eventually. One night, she cornered me in the kitchen while I was meal prepping a week's worth of turkey sandwiches. "You have been busy lately," she said, her voice light. I nodded. "Studying, working, yeah." She tilted her head. "What is the sudden motivation?" I shrugged. "Just figured it was time." She smiled, like she did not believe me. "Good, keep it up. It will look good on scholarship applications. Maybe we can even—" I cut her off. "Do not worry about it." She blinked. "About what?" "Scholarships. I have it handled." Her lips pressed into a line. She did not like that, I could tell. She liked control. She liked being the savior. Me becoming self-sufficient did not fit her script. But she did not push it. Not then. 2 weeks later, Grandpa called me. "I have been thinking," he said, "about what you said, about not seeing a dime." I braced myself. "I want to make it right," he continued. "I talked to a lawyer. I am changing the terms of my will." My heart skipped. "What?" "I am not going to live forever," he said bluntly. "And I am done trusting your mother with anything related to money. You are getting the farm." I froze. "Grandpa, No arguments. I have already started the paperwork. It will be held in trust until you turn 18, but it is yours. That place was built by our family, and I will be damned if it becomes some Instagram photo op for Maddie's engagement party." I did not know what to say. I had grown up on that land, the barn, the creek, the little shed where Grandpa kept rusted tools, and stories from the war. It was the only place that had ever felt like mine, and now it was. "Thank you," I whispered. He grunted. "Do not thank me yet. We are going to clean it up, fix the roof, maybe plant a proper garden. You will need help." "I will be there this weekend." "Good." From that moment on, every free minute I had went into rebuilding that farm. I cleaned gutters, hauled junk, painted walls. Grandpa showed me how to install insulation and check for termite damage. We patched the barn roof together while listening to old jazz cassettes. And while we worked, he taught me more than I had ever learned in school. Not just about carpentry or tools, but about people. How to read contracts, how to see through polite lies, how to trust your gut, how to recognize when someone is using a smile as a weapon. That place became my sanctuary. But I did not tell anyone at home. I did not tell them that the land was being transferred to me. I did not tell them that I had started an online business reselling refurbished tools I picked up at auctions. I did not tell them about the part-time internship I landed with a local contractor who liked my hustle. I did not tell them anything because they were not entitled to it. They never once asked how I was doing. They did not notice that I was gone more often. They did not notice that my bank account was slowly growing. They did not notice that I was getting stronger, more confident, more grounded. They did not see the change because they were not looking. Maddie was too busy shopping for new furniture for her future house. Mom was too busy telling her book club that they owned 2 properties now. Dad was still drifting in and out of conversations, like always a ghost in khakis. And me? I was building something. Slowly, quietly, with purpose. Deep down, I was waiting for the right moment. The moment when I would stop being invisible. The moment when I would pull the rug out from under all of them. Because the truth was, I was not just rebuilding myself. I was laying the foundation for something bigger, something they would never see coming. It started with a spreadsheet. Simple, clean, titled in all caps, Reclamation Plan. I opened a blank Google sheet one night after everyone had gone to bed. The house was dark and quiet except for the faint hum of my laptop and the ticking of that annoying wall clock my mother insisted tied the dining room together. My hands hovered over the keyboard as I thought about what I was really trying to do. This was not about money anymore. Not just money. It was about power. Because that was what they had taken from me. My autonomy, my voice, my place in the family. They buried me under fake smiles and golden child Instagram captions. They buried me under brunch photos, property deeds, and whispers of, "He is just not focused." But they forgot one thing. I was watching, I was listening, I was learning, and I was going to take it all back. That spreadsheet became the blueprint. Tab 1, Timeline. I listed every major event since my birthday. The date Grandpa said he wired the money, the brunch, the fake check, the day I saw the checkbook, the date the sold sign appeared next door, the day Maddie told me she was getting the house. Every little moment where something shifted. I wanted a record not just to keep things straight, but because it reminded me this was not paranoia. It was a pattern. Tab 2, Evidence. Screenshots, photos, transcripts. I documented everything. I had pictures of the carbon copy from Mom's checkbook bank screenshots, the property listing, public records, and confirmation from Grandpa about the wire transfer. I saved emails, texts, and even a voice memo I secretly recorded when Maddie bragged about her future house again. I uploaded it all to a secure drive under a fake email account, separate from my usual accounts. Passwords changed. Two-factor authentication turned on. I was leaving nothing to chance. Tab 3, Leverage. That was the fun one. It started empty, but it grew quickly. My first major discovery came by accident. I was helping Grandpa clean out one of the old filing cabinets in the barn when I found a dusty blue binder labeled LLC Records. Inside were pages of old paperwork, including the original registration forms for the LLC my parents used to buy the house next door. The paperwork was dated 6 years earlier, but something stood out. Dad was not listed as the sole owner. Mom was the majority stakeholder, which meant her whole explanation about it being some family decision hidden behind Dad's projects was not just vague, it was a lie, a deliberate one. I scanned the entire binder and uploaded the contents. Then I dug into the county tax assessor's portal and found the property listed under the LLC. But the mailing address on record was not even our house. It was my mother's old office building. Another lie. Another layer. They thought I would not look. They really thought I would just accept it. That same week, I visited a friend of Grandpa's, a retired estate attorney named Mr. Harland. He still kept an office above the hardware store, mostly to avoid boredom. Grandpa trusted him, and that was enough for me. I told him the situation. Not every emotional detail, just enough to ask the right question. If someone wires money to a minor's savings account and the legal guardian quietly moves it without informing the recipient, what are the options? Mr. Harlan leaned back in his squeaky chair and steepled his fingers. "Well," he said, "technically that is not just unethical, it is probably illegal, especially if it was not disclosed or documented." I nodded. "What if the funds were used to purchase property under an LLC?" He arched an eyebrow. "Whose name is the LLC under?"
My mom and dad.
"And the wire was intended solely for you, from my grandfather," I said. He told me he has proof. Mr. Harland exhaled slowly. "You may have a case, especially when you turn 18. I paused. "What if I do not want to go nuclear?" He smiled faintly. "Then you start by applying pressure. Quietly, letting them know that you know. People like that are not afraid of consequences at first. They are afraid of being seen." I left that meeting with a folder of advice and a strange sense of calm. I was not alone anymore. Over the next few months, I kept working, saving, and studying. Grandpa and I built out the back shed into a small office. Nothing fancy, just a desk, a Wi-Fi booster, and a refurbished laptop I had upgraded myself. It became my war room. I started a small business, refurbishing tools and farm equipment, listing them online with help from a friend at school who was good at digital marketing. We split profits 70-30. By Christmas, I had saved almost $10,000. I also started offering labor at discounted rates to neighbors and local businesses. Nothing glamorous. Hauling lumber, cleaning gutters, fixing minor electrical issues, helping repair fences. But every job taught me something. Every task gave me more independence. My parents did not notice, or if they did, they chalked it up to me finally growing up. Meanwhile, I fed them just enough information to stay under the radar. Work has been busy. I am saving up for a better laptop. Just thinking about community college. Nothing crazy. They nodded, mildly impressed, but never asked too many questions. Why would they? In their eyes, I was still playing catch-up, still the background character in Maddie's highlight reel. But the tide was shifting. It really started to turn when Grandpa got sick. It was subtle at first. Missed appointments, forgetting small things, leaving tools in strange places. Then, one day he got lost driving home from the post office. The doctor said it might be early cognitive decline, maybe Parkinson's, maybe something worse. We did not know yet, but we knew one thing for sure. He needed to get his affairs in order. That was when he called another family meeting. It happened at the farm in the living room, just like the old days. Mom, Dad, Maddie, and me. Grandpa stood in front of the fireplace with his hands shaking just slightly, holding a thick manila envelope. "I wanted you all here," he began, "because I am making some changes." Mom tilted her head. "Changes to what?" "To everything," he said. "My will, my trusts, my power of attorney." Mom's smile faltered. "Dad, we can help with all of that. There's no need to rush into legal decisions." "I have already filed them," he said. "These are just copies." She froze. "Filed them with who?" "The county, my lawyer. And Zach." He handed me the envelope. Inside was everything. The farm, the remaining assets, his medical directives, his revised will, and a notarized statement clarifying that the $100,000 wired to me had been a personal gift, not a loan, not a family investment, not money for anyone else. You could have heard a pin drop. Then Mom said the quiet part out loud. "This is ridiculous." Grandpa did not even flinch. "No, what is ridiculous is stealing from your own son and pretending it was for his own good." Dad looked like he wanted to melt into the carpet. Maddie looked confused. Mom looked cornered. "This is revenge," she hissed. "You are punishing me for trying to protect this family." "No," Grandpa said. "I am correcting a mistake I let go too long." I did not say a word. I did not need to. Not yet. After they left, after the yelling and the slammed door, Grandpa turned to me. "They are going to come after this," he said, nodding toward the envelope. "They will find ways to twist it. Do not let them. You are smarter than they think." I nodded, gripping the papers like a shield. The next morning, I got an email from my mother. Just one line. "We need to talk. You are making a serious mistake." I did not reply. Instead, I called Mr. Harland and asked him to double-check the documents. He said they were airtight. A week later, I filed to open my own LLC under my name only. I transferred my tool refurbishing business to it and applied for a small business credit line using my savings as collateral. Approved. I ordered business cards. Zachary M. Thomas, owner. Red Barn Restoration Company. Tools, labor, legacy. I left one on the kitchen counter one morning before heading out to the farm. That was the first time my dad actually looked at me like I was someone new. I did not smile. I did not brag, because I was not done yet. The house next door, the one they had stolen my money to buy, was almost ready. Renovations were done. Maddie had already started decorating it on Pinterest. My parents were floating the idea of moving her in during college. What they did not know was that I had been reading every clause in their LLC documents, and I knew something they did not. The final card was almost ready to play, and when I played it, it would not just be revenge. It would be a reckoning. The final move started with a knock on the front door. It was a Tuesday morning. Spring was settling in. The trees were starting to bud, and the air smelled like wet soil and quiet tension. I knew my parents would be home. My mother was working part-time by then, some flexible remote job with a local interior design firm. Dad was still between roles, which meant wandering around the house like a lost tourist. I timed everything perfectly. Mom answered the door with her usual fake warmth, probably expecting a neighbor or a package delivery. Instead, she was greeted by a well-dressed woman in a blazer, carrying a clipboard and wearing a badge clipped to her lapel. "Good morning," the woman said. "Are you Mrs. Thomas?" "Yes," my mother answered slowly. My name is Claire Jensen. I am with the County Tax Assessor's Office. We have flagged a discrepancy in the ownership documents for the property located at 1139 West Holloway Lane, currently registered under an LLC managed by yourself and Mr. Thomas. I watched from my truck across the street, the windows cracked open, my heart thudding hard enough that I could feel it in my throat. I could not hear the conversation. I did not need to. That was the spark. Here is how it all came together. While Grandpa's lawyer, Mr. Harland, helped secure my legal standing over the farm and get everything in writing regarding the original $100,000 gift, I kept digging. Through public records, through their LLC bylaws, through real estate law, through county filings most people never bother to read. And I found something they had overlooked. When my parents used my money to fund the purchase of the house next door, without written consent, without documentation, and without disclosing the source of funds in the LLC's filings, they triggered a clause in the county's conflict of interest policy regarding trust contributions and assets connected to minors. In plain English, any substantial sum contributed to an LLC from a minor's account trust or gifted funds meant for a minor had to be documented. The minor had to have proper representation. The source of funds had to be disclosed. I had not been represented. Nothing had been disclosed, and I had proof. Wire records, Grandpa's notarized statement, bank records, property filings, the checkbook photo, the LLC binder, the timeline. The best part was that because the money came from outside my parents' joint funds, from my grandfather directly to me, and was then repurposed into their LLC without disclosure, it created a breach of fiduciary duty. They were my legal guardians. They were responsible for safeguarding my assets. Instead, they took them. In other words, they stole from me. And now the county was investigating. After the visit from the assessor, everything unraveled fast. First came the calls, then the voicemails, then the messages. My mother left me 5 in 1 hour, ranging from fake concern to veiled threats. Zachary, this is your mother. We need to clear up this misunderstanding before it becomes a bigger issue. This is ridiculous. You do not understand how business works. Call me back. We raised you. We gave you everything. And this is how you repay us? I did not respond. Not yet. Instead, I showed up 2 days later with Mr. Harland at my side and a folder full of papers. We did not meet at the house. That would have given them home field advantage. We met at the county mediator's office. Neutral ground. They looked tired and panicked. My mother had lost that practiced poise she always wore like a mask. Dad sat slumped, his eyes darting between me and the documents. Maddie was not there. She still did not know what was coming. I assume you are aware why we are here, Mr. Harland began, his voice calm. My mother opened her mouth, but he held up a hand. This will not take long. He laid out everything: the initial gift, the illegal transfer, the misuse of funds, the real estate filing issue, the tax implications, the potential audit, the possible civil consequences. My parents tried to deny it at first. They said family money was shared. They said I did not need it. They said they were investing in everyone's future. They said I was too young to understand. But the law does not care about favoritism. The law only cares about paper trails, and I had the receipts. Mr. Harland offered them a deal. They could avoid formal charges and a full audit by signing over the house immediately. All of it. Title transfer, LLC dissolution as it related to the property, full acknowledgement that the funds had been misused. In exchange, I would not pursue damages or back taxes. They stared at me like I was a stranger. This is extortion, my mother hissed. No, I said quietly. This is accountability. It took an hour, but they signed. I walked out of that building as the sole owner of 1139 West Holloway Lane. It was mine now, and I was not done. 2 days later, I met with a realtor and listed it for sale. Maddie came home from school that afternoon and found the sign in the yard. She burst into the house in tears, screaming, "Why is there a for sale sign on my house?" My parents tried to explain. They tried to spin it. They tried to make it sound temporary, complicated, unfair, like something had been done to them instead of something they had done to me. But I did not let them control the story anymore. That weekend, I held a family meeting at the farm, my turf. They came reluctantly. Maddie would not speak to me. My mother looked like she had not slept. My dad just kept staring at the floor. I stood in front of the porch with papers in my hand. "This is not just about the money," I said. "It never was. It is about what you thought you could get away with. The way you made decisions without me. The way you looked at me like I was disposable." No one responded. I turned to Maddie. "I do not blame you," I said. "You did not steal the money, but you benefited from it. And when I tried to speak up, you acted like I was jealous." Her eyes were red. "You humiliated me." "No," I said. "You were building your future on stolen bricks. I just took them back." Then I turned to my mother. "You always told me I was the one who needed to grow up. You told me I did not understand how things worked. But it turns out I understood more than you thought. I watched, I learned, and I built something without you, from scratch." I laid the final paper on the porch railing. "I have spoken with Grandpa's medical team. I filed the documents. I am now his legal medical power of attorney and financial custodian." Her jaw dropped. "You cannot do that." I just did. She lunged forward, furious. "You think you are better than us now? Because of some farm and a flipped house?" "No," I said. "I know I am. Because I did not need to lie or steal to get here." She backed off. I did not raise my voice. I did not curse. I did not gloat. Because by then, this was not about vengeance anymore. It was about peace. They left in silence. No dramatic outburst. Just the sound of tires on gravel and a car door slamming shut. 3 months later, the house sold. I put most of the money into a separate trust one Grandpa helped me set up. A chunk went into the farm, where we built a greenhouse and started a local produce business. Red Barn Restoration Company became Red Barn Living. Tools, labor, and fresh-grown vegetables. Small, but proud. Grandpa's condition stabilized for a while. We spent long afternoons watching storms roll in, sipping lemonade and listening to old blues records. Sometimes we did not even talk. We did not need to. Maddie and I have not spoken since. My dad eventually emailed me a long, rambling message about regrets, family, and how things got away from us. I read it. I did not reply. My mother sent a birthday card 6 months later. Inside was a $100 check. I mailed it back. No note, just the check. I did not need their approval. I did not need their validation. I had my name on a deed, a business license in my pocket, and a grandfather who looked at me with real pride. And for the first time in my life, I finally felt like I was home. They took my future without asking, so I took it back.